The Earthquake Commission has had more than 1,000 claims already following Sunday's earthquake. EQC's Chief Executive Ian Simpson says it's too early to draw conclusions about the final number of claims or the total cost of damage, of course. But residents have 3 months until May 16th to make a claim. Clare and Graham Flynn's home in Bower Ave in the Christchurch suburb of Parklands, well, that dates back way before Sunday. The couple is insured with Southern Response and are part of a quake outcast class action. But what makes their situation different is the couple separated before the 1st September quake and haven't been able to move on since. They can't sell their home because it hasn't been fixed. Clare and Graham join us now via live view from what was their marital home in Parklands. We really appreciate you joining us, you two. And I know this isn't easy for you. And I also know you've been hearing from Southern Response since we contacted them. But let's go back before that. How tough has the past 5 years been?
It's been really tough, John. What has happened with us is the fact that when the earthquakes occurred, we had already separated at that stage. And we were unable to move on as far as settling the marital property is concerned. And we are living in a substandard home now. I live in the home with my 2 children, and my niece now lives with me.
And so for 5 years, you have simply waited for some kind of resolution. Graham, can I go to you? Why has it taken so long?
It's basically been the inaction by Southern Response. If it wasn't for the court case action been taken to the court a few months ago, we'd probably still be waiting to hear from someone. Once they got wind of the court case action going ahead, all of a sudden they are here on our doorstep with their engineers and all of the people, and they're bending over backwards trying to see what they can do to help us, and it's just been, I suppose, relatively full on over the last few months. 16 months ago, we went to a meeting in Addington. They promised that they would be in contact with us over the next 2 or 3 months and things would be moving at a great rate of knots. We never heard anything for 12 months until the court case was put together.
Hold on, can I just clarify that, Graham? So 16 months ago, you were told that you would have some clarity and know where you stood within 2 or 3 months. You heard nothing for a year.
That's correct, John.
And Claire, what is the impact of that on you? Because not only is there uncertainty, there is the stress of living in a house which has, what's the variation in the floor level? What sort of damage did you sustain?
The lowest point in the floor is 140 mils between that and the highest point. So we've lived in a home that is basically on a hill.
And you're exhausted, aren't you?
I am. Especially after the earthquake on Sunday, it just brought everything back to the surface again. And as a result, I actually became very nervous. I was very upset with that. In previous times, I hadn't been so upset because of the simple fact that we were kind of getting used to it. But then with the Sunday's earthquake, it just all come flooding back. And to be perfectly honest, I'm tired of it. I want to move on. I want to move away from this area, especially the east side of town, and I can't do anything.
Well, look, Graham and Claire, we've contacted Southern Response, and they say your claim is one of the more complicated it is dealt with due to the poor land. So, in fact, it's the land beneath the house that makes the rebuild difficult. They say the claim started off as a repair and as a result of technical input, including engineering reports. Bear in mind, this is over 5 years, although I don't need to tell you two that. It's now decided the best option is to rebuild the home. Southern Response says it expects to have a rebuild settlement offer ready to present to you later this week. It says they contacted you today, Claire, and you advised some cracks in the patio have widened but are not a hazard for you or your children. So it looks like something's happening at last. Is something happening at last? Will a rebuild settlement offer make a difference after 5 years, finally?
Yes, it will make a difference, because we'll be able to move on, move away from this area and move somewhere where we don't feel the earthquakes as much.
Graham, should you have had to have, sorry.
Yes,
Claire.
I was contacted this afternoon by Southern Response, asking after our health and safety, basically, and I was able to reassure them that we are still okay, we can live in this home, but I want it resolved. I need it resolved.
Graham, one final question to you. Should it have taken 5 years? Should we even be having this conversation with the 5th anniversary of the February quake on Monday?
Absolutely not, John. No, this should have been resolved at least 3 years ago. When we built this place, we were proud of it. I had an in-ground watering system in my lawn, and if your cameraman can pan down and show the lawn, it'll give some idea of how bad it is now. It's just nothing but weeds. But you're right, it shouldn't have taken 5 years, and it shouldn't have taken the threat of a court action to finally see some sort of response from Southern Response.